everyone is obsessed with the hit boy band, Why Don't We? And we can't seem to get enough of these 5 amazing musicians. Stay tuned to find out 20 awesome facts about the members of the band. Who doesn't want more awesome content? Click subscribe to get all our fun videos. Now let's find out the 20 things you didn't know about the boys of Why Don't We? Jack's acting background. There's no doubt that all of the members of Why Don't We are super talented musicians, but they can do a lot more than just sing. Jack Avery can play the piano and guitar, and he also writes songs. Back in 2015, Jack starred in a short film called The Fearless Five. It's about a boy who becomes a social media star and gets recruited into a superhero force to protect companies from bankruptcy. It's only 7 minutes long, and it starred Alex from Target. Jack was a YouTube star when he was cast in this short. How crazy is that? Where in the world? Sometimes it seems like all our favorite celebrities grew up near Hollywood, but thanks to YouTube, it's a lot easier for regular people from all over the world to become famous. The Why Don't We boys are a real American boy band. They come from all over the country. Jonah Murray is from way up north in Minnesota. Zach Heron, the band's youngest member, is from deep in the heart of Texas. Corbin Besson was born in Texas but grew up in Virginia. Jack Avery comes from Pennsylvania, and Daniel Seavey is from Portland, Oregon. Are one of the boys from your state? It's pretty cool that together they represent so much of the country. Jonahs' solo album. It's no secret that most of the members of Why Don't We got their start on social media. There's a ton of great talent on the internet after all. But did you know that Jonah became so successful as a solo artist that he released an album? Jonah had a huge following on the live stream site YouNow. When the Daylight's Gone is an EP that was released on April 2nd, 2016. It was really successful and helped Jonah get even more famous. Before his album, Jonah performed as part of the 2014 Digitour. Pretty major accomplishment for someone so young. American Idol. If you're like us, you probably recognize several members of the band when you first heard them. After all, they were all independent stars when they formed the band. But do you remember where you recognized Daniel Seavey from? He was a finalist on the 14th season of American Idol. Back in 2015, Daniel made it to the top 10, which is such a cool accomplishment. He was 9th place when he was eliminated, but he gained a huge fan base, even though he didn't win the whole season. He is just that talented. Corbin's surgery. Back in July 2018, Corbin tweeted that he had to have a spontaneous surgery on his throat. That sounds awful. He had a huge infection that was all swollen and blocking his airway, which made it really hard to breathe. He was in the hospital for a few days, but he made a full recovery. He got lots of love from his band members, who tweeted the sweetest well wishes. And he got a ton of support from his fans, too. We're so glad that Corbin was able to get the surgery he needed, and we're extra glad that it didn't affect his singing voice. Corbin is still going strong with Why Don't We? Jonah's influence. The members of Why Don't We are all really young. It's pretty amazing that they have already achieved so much fame and success before any of them even hit 20 years old. So, how did these young guys know they wanted to be singers? It's always fun to find out what inspired celebrities, isn't it? For Jonah, his inspiration came from Justin Bieber. When he was just 12 years old, Jonah went to a Bieber concert. Bieber was only about 15 at that time, which made Jonah realize he could do it too. Jonah totally worked hard to achieve that dream. It wasn't long after that concert that he began posting videos and getting a fan base. We think it's pretty awesome that he's achieved his dream so young. Ed Sheeran fans. It's always fun to remember that celebrities have favorite singers too, and sometimes they are lucky enough to meet their idols. All of the Why Don't We boys agree on their biggest idol, Ed Sheeran. Jack has said that Ed Sheeran inspired him to start playing guitar and singing and just going for it. But they all agree that he is a performer to admire. They like to emulate his vocals, and they think he's just an all-around amazing person. They met Sheeran at the 2017 Video Music Awards. Then they got to hang out with him backstage at the 2017 Jingle Ball from iHeartMedia. The nerd. The Why Don't We boys might be the epitome of cool to their fans, but even they have some interests that people might think are kind of nerdy. Corbin is the self-proclaimed nerd of the group. He is especially passionate about space. outer space. He loves everything about the universe from supernovas to black holes to antimatter. He even wears a NASA pin given to him by his bandmate Daniel. We can't blame Corbin for being super into space stuff. We love that Corbin owns his nerdiness. There's nothing wrong with being interested in cool stuff. Medical mystery. Okay, this next bit of trivia is kind of gross, but Zach can't burp. Yeah, we know. Weird. He's never been able to belch. Even as a baby, he wasn't able to do this one basic bodily function. As a baby, his parents tried to get him to burp, but he couldn't. Now that he's older, his bandmates have tried to make him belch. They gave him a ton of soda, but he still couldn't do it. So crazy. Musical genius. American Idol finalist Daniel isn't just an amazing vocalist, he can play a lot of instruments too. We're not talking about one or two. He can play over 20 instruments. He started playing the piano when he was just 4 years old. But he quickly figured out that he can learn new instruments by ear. That is such a rare talent. How cool would it be to just quickly learn a new instrument? So out of all of these instruments, which is Daniel's favorite? He says it's probably the cello. Roomies. We already know that the boys of Why Don't We are total friendship goals, but aside from all the time they spend together for their careers, they're also all roommates. They all bought a house together in Los Angeles. They're already always together at the studio or for interviews and stuff. Why not just live together? Wouldn't you love to live with all your besties? We wonder if they ever get tired of each other. That's a lot of time to spend together. Big brother. Jack has 4 sisters, but he is one awesome brother. His little sister, Isla, has always wanted to go to Disney World. She started saving up money years ago, and after 2 years, she still didn't quite have enough. Disney is expensive, but once Jack started making the big bucks with Why Don't We, he didn't go out and buy a whole bunch of random junk. He took Isla to Disney World. He posted the sweetest Instagram post about it. He was so happy to be able to do something for his sister. Jack is just an awesome guy. International stars. Why Don't We have become popular all over the world, and earlier in 2018, they got to go on their first world tour. In the summer, they went on an Asian tour. They performed in Japan, China, Taiwan, and more. They also went to Australia. Their European tour began in October 2018. They started in Spain and then Ireland. They're also going to the Netherlands, Germany, and the United Kingdom in all less than a month. That's a whirlwind of a tour. And if you're wanting to see them in the United States and Canada, they start their next North American tour in March 2019. Have you been able to see Why Don't We on tour? The Jingle Ball. It's always a big deal when newer bands get to go on tour with other really popular artists. And last year, Why Don't We got to perform on the same stage as some really incredible singers. At the 2017 Jingle Ball tour, Why Don't We joined some huge names. They got to perform with Taylor Swift, Demi Lovato, Charlie Puth. Even Fall Out Boy was at a couple of the concerts. iHeartMedia does an awesome tour of big-name stars at the holidays, so it was pretty cool that Why Don't We was included. Those concerts had to be epic AF. Boyband Inspiration. Boy bands have been around for a while. They were really big in the 1990s with Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. Before that, there was New Kids on the Block. But musical groups of all-male performers have been around for a long time. Back in the 60s, there were the Beatles and the Monkees. So there's a lot of pressure to be a successful boy band. There are just so many great ones in musical history. Why Don't We totally recognizes their roots. So which boy bands do they aspire to be like? They really look up to the musical geniuses of the Beatles and NSYNC. Good choice, boys! They even have a photo paying homage to the famous Beatles Abbey Road shot. Social media stars. It's pretty much a requirement to have social media if you want to be a star nowadays. And we live for celebrity Instagrams and Twitters. But Why Don't We are absolutely amazing at social media. Within just 9 months of being a band, their Instagram already had 1 million followers. Bands used to have to really wait for a big break to get that famous. They all had social media followings before they started the band, which is pretty awesome. If you add up all their followers now, it's over 22 million. Band name. Why Don't We is a super original name for a band. So where did they get the idea from? It literally comes from the idea to start a band. You know, why don't we start a band? How did these 5 musicians all decide to start a band anyway? Well, they all hung out in Los Angeles. They hit it off and said the vibe was just there. It felt right, so they decided, why not? And we are so glad they did. Not only did they form an amazing boy band, but they gave us all bromance and friendship goals too. Tattoo goals. These best friends and musicians are very vocal about how much Why Don't We has changed their lives. They talk a lot about how lucky they are to have found so much success together. In a People magazine interview, they were asked if they would ever get matching tattoos. They said that they all want to get a 1/5 tattoo on their wrist. Why that fraction? Well, they're all 1/5 of a band, and they know it takes all 5 to make them great. They think their wrist would be cool because it would be visible when they're holding their mics. Last we heard, they hadn't gotten the tattoos yet. We hope they do soon. Dating fans. Part of being in a boy band means tons of teen girls want to date them. It's nice to dream, but it usually doesn't happen. Well, don't worry, ladies. The boys of Why Don't We said they would totally date a fan if she was the right girl. So you're saying there's a chance. And what makes the right girl? In the same interview, they talked about how it all comes down to personality and being able to carry on a good conversation. And it helps to smell nice, too. Keep dreaming, girls. There's still a chance. 2 years. We can't imagine a world without Why Don't We. It feels like we've been fans of theirs forever. But can you believe it's only been about 2 years? The band was officially formed on September 27, 2016. That means they recently celebrated their 2-year anniversary. In those 2 years, they've released several EPs and some amazing music videos. We are so excited to see what else comes from this amazing band. Their fans, known as the Limelights, are totally devoted to them. So who is your favorite member of Why Don't We? Let us know in the comments. And there you go, 20 fun facts about the boys of Why Don't We. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.